Okay, perfect. We're recording. Okay, guys, we're going to go ahead and dive in. Welcome to our Body Electric Weekly webinar. We are in February of 2019 officially, but I'm hoping this is a resource that we can refer back to often, and we can provide our coaches when it comes to teaching them how to build a residual business. That's what we're going to be covering tonight. So what I'd like to do is just have you guys save any questions that you have for the end, just so that I can get through everything that we have. And then we can definitely take time to answer those at the very end. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And okay, perfect. So do we have any spouses or significant others or moms or sisters on the call, or are you guys planning on sharing this with them for sure? Okay, perfect. So what we wanted to talk about specifically tonight was how to build a residual business. And you guys know what that means, right? How to build a business that has residual income, that is a more steady business than what I have a feeling a lot of coaches are experiencing, which is more of a sales-based business. So we're going to actually have you dive into your Coach Online office. So I'm going to go through a few announcements for the team. So while I'm doing that, if you want to go ahead and pull up your Coach Online office, if you don't already have it, and log in, you'll be ready to go. So first and foremost, I do want to go over a few announcements. It's not enough for me to just post them in the weekly announcements. I have to make sure that I'm giving you guys some details behind it. So next week, we are doing our Give Yourself the Gift of Love flash sale. It's starting on the 13th. It will end on Valentine's Day, the 14th. So they have until midnight Valentine's Day to place their order to be eligible for the prize. There are going to be 5 challenge packs featured on that flash sale. So we're going to feature Transform 20, Beachbody On Demand, 2B Mindset, Lift 4, and the 3-day refresh. Those are the 5 challenge packs that we will be talking about. Here's what I want you to know. After those challenge packs have been featured, we will also be including some add-ons. So if any of you listen to the National Wake Up Call on Monday of this week, where Kim Fitzpatrick covered, how to build a customer's share cart, like how to build the cart for them. That's the approach we're going to take with this flash sale. So it won't just be the challenge packs being featured, it'll also be add-ons. So things like Energize, Performance Line, Beach Bars, Daily Sunshine. So what we want you guys to do is we want you to wait and hold off on actually generating the orders until everything has been mentioned in that flash sale. Okay, so the customer side of things, nothing's going to be different. The customer is still going to have a sense of urgency. We're going to have them, tag their coach and give you their email and get things going. But we want you guys to kind of hold off a little bit on sending their order until we get those add-ons mentioned in the flash sale event. Does that make sense? And then at the very end of that flash sale, I'll be doing a quick live stream about how they can actually start their journey with one of those challenge packs in our virtual gym or in our challenge groups. And they can go ahead and start paying it forward as a coach if they so wish. This is something that a lot of top teams in the network are doing. They're mentioning the coach opportunity from the get-go. And it doesn't hurt, I don't think, to go ahead and mention that they can save some money on future product, and they can go ahead and start paying it forward if they want to. That's how I started out. So it's I think a good opportunity. So that's how we're going to handle this particular flash sale. So that's going to be happening next week. We will not have a webinar because we're going to be in the middle of the flash sale when that's going on. So all of our focus will be on the flash sale next week. Okay, so I also want you guys to mark your calendars. I mentioned this last week, but the very end of the month, the 26th through the 28th, we're doing a coach opportunity 3-day event. We're calling it Finding Fulfillment with Coaching. So for those of you guys who create a social media plan, right, a really smart idea is to be planting seeds throughout the month about how, the different ways that you have found fulfillment with coaching, because that is who we're going to be targeting, people, women especially, who are looking for fulfillment with a business like this. So there's going to be more information to come about the particular event, but we didn't want to overwhelm you with flash sale information and that at the same time. We want you to be focused on flash sale for now, right? Securing 3 Lives Club. And then after that ends, we'll be talking more specifics about this event. So just FYI, can you turn that off? Sorry, we turned our space heaters on in here and my pants are melting off. So thank you. Okay, so also hopefully you guys saw yesterday, I posted this calendar in the virtual gym. For the month of February, we are doing some live accountability workouts through Zoom in the virtual gym. We've had some coaches volunteer their time to do that. Basically, they're already working out at this time. All they're going to do is just turn on their Zoom. And anybody that wants to join them, it's considered an accountability workout. So I created a calendar for that. And then Laura and I will be doing live classes on Saturdays. And that was shared in the virtual gym last night. So if you missed that, check out my post in the team page for more details. Or you can even look at the post made in the virtual gym. Now, I just got off of a training while we ate dinner tonight. I listened to a quick training video that Kim Carver did for the roundtable for the ultimate portion fix. Okay. And so before you say anything about, I know what you're going to do when I mention this, you're going to say, well, how much does it cost? I don't know yet. Apparently this coming Friday, they're going to be doing another training that's going to include how much the bundles are, what's included in the bundles. So he didn't go into that detail, but what he did talk about was the program itself and the certification attached to the program. And so what I wanted to do, what I wanted to share with you guys tonight is just that, in my opinion, you're going to want to be certified in this. Okay. Even if you're 2B Mindset certified, or if you're not 2B Mindset certified, even if you've never gotten a certification before, if you're not a personal trainer, if you're not, a PIO or Insanity or P90X instructor, like the ultimate portion fix, I think needs to be your number one certification. And if you're treating this business like a business, it should definitely be up on your list. Now, why do I say that? Those of you guys who've been a coach since, 2014, 2015, when 21 Day Fix released on DVD, you know that Autumn just has something very special about the programs that she launches, right? They're always a huge hit. 21 Day Fix, Fix Extreme, 80 Day Obsession, like look at the phenomenons that were sort of created behind those programs. And now we're kind of taking it up a level with the ultimate portion fix. Now, here's what I really like about what Kim said. The way they've designed ultimate portion fix is to be family focused. So every single meal that's provided that is considered like a family friendly meal. And it's also, if not, like if there's things that they think kids could be picky about, they've actually given modifications to those meals for kids, like how you can make that same meal modifiable for a kid. So I think it's going to be really awesome, because how many times do we hear from people, well, I need to get my family healthy, or my family is not going to eat this way, or this is just going to be me and I'm going to have to make more, separate meals for my kids. And I just have a feeling that given the success of 21 Day Fix and Portion Fix and Autumn in general, and how this is really targeting most of the people that we talk to, I think you're going to want to be certified in this. So it releases to coaches on March 4th. I don't know any of the pricing yet, but I think you're going to want to grab your bundle, and they're bundling it with certification, so you can actually purchase your certification at the same time. I think you're going to want to do that ASAP as soon as it releases. So I just wanted to plant that seed in case you're budgeting ahead of time. That's coming, and I think that's something you definitely want to do. Okay. So let's go ahead and dive into sort of our content for tonight, like the meat and potatoes of what I wanted to share with you guys. So the number one thing that I've had the opportunity to do in the last year, probably like 8 months to a year, is I've been able to do some one-on-one mentoring calls with you guys. In some cases, it's small group mentoring, right, where I'm talking to you and your coach, or sometimes it is just one-on-one. What are you doing?
Plugging in the monitor.
Oh, is it dead?
It's going to.
Sorry, we have a toddler monitor dying. That's dying here. Oh, I plugged it in there. I had it plugged in there.
It was down for the other.
Sorry about that. So basically, like what I've been able to gather from those conversations is very similar to kind of what we talked about this weekend. For those of you guys who were at my house for the overnight, is how do you make this business lucrative as far as income goes? And the primary reason why I wanted to invite your spouses to attend is because I know that that's a lot of times, what's where this is all rooted, right? Like you're working your butt off, you're on your phone, you're working your business, and your spouse is like, you made $100 this month, or you made $300 this month. And they're like, you're on your phone all the time. So what I wanted to do is make sure that you guys understand how to assess where your income is coming from now, and how to get where you're going, like how to actually make this a lucrative opportunity for you. So in order to know how to get there, you have to know where you are now. So that's what we're going to do by diving into the Coach Online office. And then we're going to go through, I think, what are the primary business activities that are going to help you build that residual income. So it takes time, it takes consistency, it takes growth of your team. We're going to dive into all that here. So the first thing we want you to do is we want you to pull up your Coach Online Office. Hopefully you already did. And you're going to go to your Monitor My Business tab. And Chris has it pulled up on his phone too. But basically what we wanted to do is we wanted to show you where your current income is coming from. Okay, so if you've never done this before, maybe you have, maybe you haven't, but this is something that you should assess regularly. So you want to offer any, does anybody,
Sure.
Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead.
That's all, I don't have
Okay.
anything else.
Yeah, I think the really nice thing about this is it kind of gives you an idea of what percentages your business are. Like, is it like primarily retail based? And if you have a number in there where it says bonus points, you can literally click on that.
Well, no, let's stop real quick. So have you guys found it yet? Do you know where we are? So we're in the Monitor My Business tab, and then where did you go from there?
Earnings and commissions.
Earnings and commissions. So I think it's important for you to go through these, what they are, so that they understand. So this screenshot that we have here on the screen should be what you see when you get to that screen. And he's going to walk you through what these different types of commissions are. Okay, so once you have that open, Sarah, can you give me a thumbs up? Are you open? Okay.
Yeah, so this is pretty much like a snapshot of where your income is coming from. And so the retail commissions are anything that are sold retail based wise, any challenge packs that are sold to customers. So anything that you basically get your 25% commission on. The subscription commission tab is all of your BOD renewals, BOD orders, that 99 BOD fee, and that will come to there. Team bonus is your team cycle bonus. So you've probably heard the strong leg, weak leg conversation at some point. And that is the value that will be there.
So that depends, obviously you guys have heard, that'll depend on what your current rank is. So you will only cycle, you'll only have a team bonus if you are an emerald or higher. Emeralds cycle at $14 a cycle, diamonds cycle at $18 a cycle. So that's another conversation for another day, but that's the team bonus that he's talking about.
Matching bonuses are for rubies and diamonds and above. Basically, they look at the leaders on your team and whatever those leaders are cycling. If you're a ruby, you get a 5% match or bonus of that, or if you're a diamond and above, you get a 10% bonus on top of that. For the fast start bonus, that's when you are enrolling new coaches. So when you're doing coach challenge packs, that is where that income will show up, because when you get a fast start bonus, you make, what do you make, $50 on a challenge pack? So you make a little bit more than your 25%. And so that shows up there as new coaches. And then if you're able to enroll 5 coaches over a 5-week period, you'll get the, I think it says Fast Start Plus bonus, which I think is $100.
Yeah, so I think we've heard about this before, right? If you sign one coach a week for 5 solid weeks, you'll receive $100 extra in your paycheck. So that's just an extra bonus that's added there. So real quick before we go on, does anybody have any, you'll have to unmute yourself, but does anybody have any questions about any of those different commission types?
I have a question about the matching bonus. Can you explain like when that kicks in or how that kicks in, or? Okay.
Yeah, so basically when your coaches cycle, so your emeralds and above begin to cycle, you will start receiving a matching bonus. And it will be probably starting out, like if you have an emerald coach and they cycle for $14 and you're a diamond, you'll get $1.40.
Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yes, that makes sense now. Thank you.
That's the simplified
version.
Yeah. Okay. Anybody else have any questions about this particular screen or any of the commission types? Okay. All right, cool. So it really comes down to, what we've talked about a lot recently, which is building a working team, right? That's how you're going to build a residual cycle bonus. That's how you're going to have sort of that like income that you can rely on. We took a look at my numbers as far as like what my weekly income comes from, and 66% of my weekly income is from my team cycle bonus. So I'm getting like the majority of my weekly paycheck is coming from the team's efforts, right? The team's the team's efforts in the business. 12% coming from new sales, which is a very small percentage, right? Which is like my 3 Lives Club each month, my 3 new challenge packs a month, or 5 new challenge packs a month. And then 22% is coming from just residual customers, people who are faithful fans of Shakeology or Performance Line or whatever. So at this stage in my business, probably for the first, I would say 3 to 4 years of my business, I was only earning the new sales commissions and some occasional residual customer commissions, right? Which was looking a lot like, it was the 66% I just mentioned was non-existent, right? So it was just my income was coming solely from new sales, just those 3 challenge packs each month, which was what, like $150, $120. And then anybody that stayed on Shakeology or purchased other products, right, was on top of that. So my income at that time was like not even an eighth of what it is now. And the reason is because of the working team. So the working team really is what is going to produce your residual business for you. So we also have to take a look at faithful customers, right? We're going to talk a little bit about that, but having residual sales from your customers is also not a bad idea, right? Like, not a bad thing. Like, having customers that are consistently ordering product is also going to help you in the residual realm. So I think you guys may have heard this before. If not, the average Shakeology customer consumes Shakeology for 3 months before canceling or postponing their order. So the average Shakeology customer consumes Shakeology for 3 months. Okay, so I'm not sure, you guys might get that email. I think you guys get the email that I get like at the beginning of the year, where they send you the email that's got the pretty graphics, and it's like, here's all your stats for the year. You know, your customers tended to be on Shakeology for 2.5 months or whatever, and it gives you like all those different statistics. I would say you definitely want to sit down and assess those numbers. Like, every year I send that email that I get to Chris, and we go through it all. Okay, so what are the areas of my business where I am really falling short? Like, if I think this past year was probably I'll say my worst year when it came to like residual customers. Team year being probably one of my biggest years, but when it came to residual customers, I'd kind of dropped the ball. But that made total sense to me because I was putting my focus on the team and not so much on building those faithful fans of products. Does that make sense? So it's what I'm saying here is it's a 50-50 thing. Having a working team and also staying true to your faithful fans, your faithful customers. So how can we create more 365ers, right? Because in essence, like, let's really think about it. Do you guys have any 365ers who aren't coaches? Probably not, right? Like, it's very few and far between that you have just such an avid customer that they're like, I'll just keep paying retail price for this. It's no big deal, right? Like, usually if they're that big of a fan and they've been consuming the product for a year, they become coaches. So the ultimate question I think we have to look at when it comes to creating these faithful fans is, how can we create more 365ers? How can we make that whole 365 theme really important, right? And I think it starts with what we talk about. If it's kind of like what we've talked about when it comes to overcoming objections. Like, if I'm constantly talking about the value of my nutrition, and I'm constantly talking about like what that means to me, and if it's a constant part of my brand, I don't tend to get very many objections when people reach out and ask me about Shakeology. I very, very rarely have anybody tell me that it's too expensive, because I've kind of put it out there that it's worth it to me, and that my health is valuable, and that the ingredients are powerful, right? Like, that's part of my brand. And so the same thing goes for this. I think one area of improvement for our team, for sure, especially now that we have the virtual gym, is talking more about Shakeology in the virtual gym. We already do a fantastic job of talking about Energize. Everybody knows we love Energize, but we need to be doing the same thing about Shakeology. And most of us as coaches have a 365 shaker cup, right? Or you've got the canister from drinking it, whatever it is, 2 years, 3 years, like the koozie, whatever, like all the different rewards that they give us for staying on track with that stuff. So I think those are the types of things that we also need to be sharing with our people, the people who have bought into our challenge groups, the people who are in our virtual gym. So just kind of making that mark as an aside, that I think that's something that we need to be talking more about in our challenge groups. So with the virtual gym, and I don't want to harp on this, that's why I love sort of the business model of the virtual gym this year, because it has this sort of membership component to it. Last week I had the ability to talk on the phone. Nicole's like, no, I don't want to talk on the phone. I had this lady who I didn't really know her. She followed me on social media and she reached out to me about the virtual gym, and we went back and forth for weeks since like I started talking about the virtual gym at Christmas time. And I couldn't get her to like cross that line. Like I couldn't get her to like make the purchase and join the virtual gym. And so finally I was like, do you have a minute to just talk on the phone and we can just hash all this out? Well, when we talked on the phone, she was like, well, I'm trying to get an understanding of how, you know, the digital workouts, Beachbody On Demand, she was trying to figure out how that was different from the virtual gym. So I explained it to her. I explained about how the virtual gym is my thing, right? It's our team thing that we lead. And the Beachbody On Demand is just the platform they have access to when they purchase the product. So long story short, being able to talk to her about it, she was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. Like, and this was a potential customer. She had not purchased anything from me yet, but having the ability to tell her, like, this is what it takes to be in that virtual gym and to make it a lifestyle. She didn't balk 1 minute about, you know, having to purchase Shakeology or product to stay in that group because I had provided the value. I had talked to her about the live classes, the accountability workouts, the form and technique, you know, tips and the nutrition plans, all the different things that we're providing in there. And so to her, it was like a no-brainer. And so the fact that I was able to talk up front about that membership component, right? Like it's $160 to get in, but then in order to stay in the virtual gym, right? Like you can stay with Beachbody On Demand for a year, but in order to stay in my virtual gym where the value is incredible, you're going to have to keep purchasing something, right? Like some sort of performance line or Shakeology. And so for her, it was like, oh yeah, that makes total sense. So I think as we get more and more comfortable with the virtual gym and the business model of that this year, it's going to make total sense. And it's really going to boost our residual customer sales. That's what my bottom line is, I guess. So does that make sense? Hopefully it does. Okay. So the ultimate question is, because I know what you're thinking, is how do I shift then into understanding what the business activities are that align with these goals? Like how can I build a team, right? Like how can I focus there? Like how can I grow a working team? And so if we want to earn a bigger cycle bonus, if we want our paycheck to be mostly comprised of a larger cycle bonus, which is that consistent residual income, we have to be willing to grow a team of working coaches, right? Like, and this is something that a lot of us have talked about one-on-one, that we don't necessarily go out and we don't motivate our coaches. We find motivated coaches, right? You guys have heard John Maxwell say that. So people who are interested in the business, now who's interested in the business, right? I heard this on a John Maxwell podcast today, and he said that he always had the rule that he would hire for attitude and he would teach aptitude. And I think that's sometimes where we get hung up when it comes to building our team, is that we're looking for people that have the aptitude, right? Like people who've lost the weight or people who are already into health and fitness or whatever. And we're missing the picture that we really don't care as long as they have the right attitude and as long as they're interested in finding that fulfillment with coaching. So that is, you know, if we want to earn the bigger cycle bonus, growing our team deserves our focus. Now, how many of you can say with a show of hands, when I looked at my commissions just now, 90% of them were from just Success Club / sales, challenge pack sales, right? Everybody. But how many of you are spending 30 days of your 30-day month pushing for Success Club, right? So if we want the residual income, we have to automate Success Club. Success Club, you just, in your head, the month ends on the 10th. You have 10 days or you have 15 days, right, at the start of the month to make the sales goals happen, to make them non-negotiable, get them out of your way, and then you can focus on growing your team. Or maybe when those people enroll with challenge packs, you're doing more about talking about the coaching opportunity, kind of like what we're talking about doing with the flash sale next week, offering that opportunity up front. So growing our team is where the cycle bonus is at, right? And then when it comes to earning better residual sales, taking care of the customers that we have, exactly what I just talked about when it comes to the virtual gym. So I tried to find a graphic, and I found one, but the only one I could find was for 21-day fix DVD challenge pack. So it was obviously created years ago. So I didn't want to confuse anybody. So you guys have heard this before, right? Like if we earn a $40 commission on a challenge pack and you sell 3 challenge packs a month, you're earning $120. Okay. If everybody stays on that Shakeology for month 2, and then you bring in 3 new people, your commissions go up to 240, the third month to 360. But let's look at it realistically, right? Like if you were to take a look at the email that you get, like I just mentioned from Beachbody, that tells you how long on average your customer is staying on Shakeology, the reality is most people's customers are only on it, maybe like 1 out of those 3 customers you bring on stays on it for month 2, right? So I decided to err on the side of caution with this. So really that looks like $120 for the first time you hit Success Club, and then $150 in the second month if you bring on 3 new people, and then $180, right? Or $210 depending on how many people stay on. So do you see how that's just like a tortoise pace of growing your income? I'm not trying to scare you, but I feel like if that's all our focus is on just those 3 new customers each month, then this is where we struggle. This is where we see our business sort of stay in that, few $100 a month sales-based business. So in network marketing, what we aim for is income that we can count on. Okay. So you've heard maybe other top coaches talk about how they were able to leave their full-time job, right? And how they wanted to make sure that they had income they could count on, because we are a sales business, right? We're not going to apologize for it. Most people, by the way, are in some sort of sales, whether they know it or not. But we are in a sales business. And so what we need to do is we need to be able to rely on an income that's going to be there, right? Even if our sales don't happen, right? Or even if like 2 years ago, Beachbody decides no more DVDs, we're all going digital to Beachbody On Demand, and now you have to sell that. And we're all like, what? How do we do that, right? Like when we have a down year or something like that, like what do you need to have a business that you can count on. And so if that's the case, we can't rely on these month-to-month sales numbers. None of us, I'm sorry to say, are Ashley Molstead. So bringing in, I don't know, what does she sell, like thousands of challenge packs a month or whatever? Most likely not happening, right? And I'm not trying to be Debbie Downer. I'm just trying to be realistic. So if we can't count on month-to-month sales, or even once we become Star Diamond coaches, we can't even really rely on those Star Diamond bonuses. Because if you haven't heard this already, I'll just be the one that breaks it to you. Once you hit Star Diamond, it's usually not a solid road, right? Like it's not like you're like, I'm a 2-star, and then I'm a 5-star, and then oh my gosh, I'm a 15-star. Like there are bumps in the road, just like there are at every stage of the business, right? You're a 5-star, you drop to 2. You're a 7-star, you drop to 3-star. You're a 10-star, you drop to 8-star, right? Like there's this constant sort of entrepreneurial roller coaster, as Darren Hardy says, that happens in the business. So we can't even really eventually count on the Star Diamond bonuses. But what we can count on is that team cycle, right? Having that working team, creating that ripple effect, bringing on new coaches, bringing on people who want this business and work for the business. That is how we produce income that is there no matter what happens. So how can we crush it with the business activities that lead to residual income? Number 1, we recruit like a boss. If we start putting our focus on building our team, everything else will follow, right? And for most of you, let me be the first person to mention this. Natalie and I had a long conversation on Tuesday about how, both of us included, need to start realizing that if we're putting ourselves out there consistently with a brand, right? Like if people know that this is what we do, which they do, then we need to stop. We need to just make the assumption that people do know what we do, because we are consistently putting it out there. It's in our stories every day. It's on our Facebook pages, our Instagram pages. It's on everything. And so why are we beating around the bush all the time, only inviting to a challenge group? They already know most likely that that's something that we do, right? So I'm not saying to stop recruiting to your challenge groups. What I'm saying is, if we start talking about our business and we start talking about ourselves as a mentor, as somebody who builds a home business on the side, or maybe it's full time, depending on who you are, right? If we start talking about that and really branding ourselves as a leader, people then will know that that's something that we do. And as I told the ladies at my house Saturday night, like if someone was following you on social and they're also following Ashley Molstead, and they decide that they want to hear more about what coaching is, who do you think they're going to reach out to? Do they just know that you run challenge groups and sell Shakeology and do the workouts? Or do they know that you help people run a business? right? And so I think it really is as simple as making that shift in your mind, transitioning your brand into being sort of a CEO. That is going to help you bring in more coaches to your team. So again, we utilize the virtual gym as a mechanism for ongoing sales. We're not afraid to build a cart for people. I have a coach who signed, I think 3 months ago, who's now hit Success Club, I think a couple times. And when she first started, she was like, I can't, like, she ordered Shakeology from the get-go, but she didn't like it. And so thankfully, when I built her shopping cart, way back when, she also tried Energize. And so when it came time for her to upgrade to become a coach, she was like, I can't do the Shakeology. I'm really sorry. She had reasons. I was like, okay, no problem, but we got to do something. We got to do Performance Line or something. And so she's like, I love Energize. So she ordered the Performance Stack, right? And she talks Energize all the time on her social. She's hitting Success Club. So if I wouldn't have been willing to build her cart for her, if I wouldn't have been willing to say like, hey, what are some other areas you might need help with, right? Snacking, beach bars, daily sunshine for your kids, Energize. If I wasn't talking about those add-ons, she might not have fallen in love with what we do, and she might not have become a coach. Does that make sense? So not being afraid to really build a cart for a customer in anticipation that if they become a faithful fan, it's going to help them build a business. So all of us have the potential to build a tribe, to lead leaders, and to create the lives we want. We just have to be willing to become a student and master of network marketing. At the end of the day, we are network marketers. We're relationship marketers. So in this business, that means creating a ripple effect of not only helping people, but of leading others to help people. Let me say that again. It means truly creating the ripple effect of not only helping people, AKA challenge groups and product, but leading other people to help people. Does that make sense? Okay. So this is super blurry because I had to like stretch it out. But this is, I think, extremely accurate, at least based on my personal experience. If you just ignore the far right column that says high earnings, that just gets you super excited. But take a look at the average earnings of coaches by rank. This is what you're looking at. And what I want to call your attention to is, do you see the drastic jump that happens between diamond and star diamond for the average earnings? The average diamond is earning $18,000 a year, whereas the average star diamond is earning $90,000 a year. That's a huge jump. The only difference, the primary difference there is what? Cycle bonus. Having a team of working. If you're a star diamond, that means you have at least one or more diamonds. You have at least one or more strong working coaches. And when that happens, look at the income boost. It's huge. So you can either tell yourself in your head, right, like, I'm going to spend all 30 days of my month every month pushing for Success Club, ending the month with that extra $150 a month, right? Like, or you can say, no, this needs to be a mindset shift for me. Like, I'm now going to talk about my business 80% of the time. I'm going to make the assumption that people know what I do. And so 20% of the time I'll put out my call to action to join my challenge group. But that mindset shift for you, which is the same thing I'm doing myself, is what's going to attract people to you from your social, to your team. And again, I'm going to say this again, because I know a lot of you have told me before, I don't know who on my social would make a good coach, right? You're looking for aptitude. You're not looking for attitude. Look for attitude. Who are the positive people, the people who really, are funny, witty, they're on social, they feel like they could be your friend. You guys have a lot in common as far as hobbies, like, who are those people that you just get a good vibe from? Most likely they would make great coaches because they're a lot like you. And that's why you jive with them. Okay. So since I did say, special invite your spouses. First of all, spouses are always welcome to attend our team calls. So even if it's not talking about income, you're always welcome to join. But I think she's moving. Okay. So what I will say is this, most of the time, the thing that spouses get hung up on the most is the income, which is why we made the special invitation for you guys to invite your spouses to attend, because they see you, like I said at the beginning, they see coaches, their spouse, you guys on your phones, working your business, coming up with content, whatever it is you're doing when you're working your business or on team calls. And then they're like, you only brought in like $200 this month. Like that's, I mean, it's great and that's awesome, but like you sure are spending a lot of time for this reward. And so they don't see the long-term vision. And so what I'm hoping by presenting this to you guys tonight was to help you guys not only kind of figure out in your own mind what needs to happen for your particular business, but to make your spouse understand that oftentimes it really is just this sort of like switch that goes off and a coach decides, you know what, I've been doing this long enough. I know how to help people. Now I need to find other people to help people. And as Chris can attest to, the income follows that. So that's why I really wanted to focus this content this way. So I made a little list of like ways that spouses can help you in case they're tuning in at some point. So number one is if you're a new coach to the team, or if you're not yet Emerald, or if if your spouse has not yet signed under you as a coach, that is number one, right? Like having your spouse or significant other as a business center that you can run is huge. So I know that sometimes it's like, why would we do that? Doesn't make any sense. My husband's not going to work the business. I understand. But we have videos that we can tag you in with more specific training about why that's important. But in the long run game, it is an income gain for your family if your spouse is able to generate income through both business centers. So that is number one. Let your spouse sign you as a coach if you're listening. Number two, learn the ins and outs of the binary compensation plan. Saying that sentence made me barf in my throat just now. Like, I do not do numbers. I don't do any sort of like assessing. Like, that's totally not my thing. That's something he does. But here's what I found. If you guys, the coaches, were drawn to network marketing because most likely if you were drawn because of your personality, right? You're a relationship person, you're outgoing in some ways, even though you might be introverted. You really like health and fitness, like you're into all this stuff. My guess is your spouse might balance you out. So your spouse might be like, if you're the dreamer, they're the realist, right? So having your spouse or significant other, or your mom, for some people, their mom helps them with the finances and stuff like that. Like whoever it is in your life, have them really dig into the stuff that doesn't come naturally to you, because most likely it does come to them. Chris's like top, what's it called? The Skills Finder. What's the name of that book?
Yeah.
Strength Finder. I was going to say Skills Finder. One of his top Strength Finder traits is learner, right? And mine is like the exact opposite. Mine's like impatient. So I'm really bad at like sitting down to understand something, but that's something that he really likes to do. And so a few years ago, that was something that I just was like, can you please help me figure this out? Because I feel like I've got this thing down when it comes to like building relationships, but I don't know if I'm doing this right from a network marketing perspective. And like I just told you guys, this is a network marketing business. If you're wanting to make money at it, you have to understand it. So the thing that I'll recommend to you, and it's just a starting point, is Doug Fitzgerald is a founding coach for Team Beachbody. He has a series of videos on YouTube called CEO to CEO. It might be the number 2, like CEO to CEO. I don't know. But he does some whiteboard trainings on the binary compensation plan. That's a really great place to start. And then most likely you'll have questions and you can kind of Google answers from there. But that's a great place for guys to check out, especially. The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy is a great book for even spouses to read. Tracking the business for your spouse. Okay, so I asked Chris last night, like, what would you say you do the most? And he said, I look at your income report, so the thing that we just showed you guys, and I check your downline placement, right? And which is when your spouse decides to tune into those Doug Fitzgerald videos on the compensation plan, they're going to understand downline placement. So would you say that that's dominantly what you're looking for?
Yeah, and like if you go into the Coach online office, it's anywhere that's like monitor your business has like 3 or 4 tabs. And so I usually just kind of click around there and see what's there.
Yeah. So if it was up to me, I wouldn't even go into that tab in my online office. Like I just avoid it at all costs. But that's something that has really helped my business, to be honest. Our business is that he's been able to go in and do that for us. So, okay, understand that this is not an overnight business. you brought up the example last night, like you wouldn't invest in a stock market expecting a huge outcome, right? In a short term. So good things take time to build. And I'll just throw this into that investing in themselves as coaches is like an undergrad paying for school so they can become successful later. Sometimes I think we start in network marketing and we have these concepts in our mind that like we're just supposed to be successful. Like within a year or two, we're supposed to be earning like 20, 30 grand a year at the very minimum from doing this new thing, right? And the truth is, at what point in our lives have we ever started off doing something new, learning something new, and earning a six-figure income, right? Never. We have to go through learning years. We have to go through understanding how the business works. I think so many of you, this is why I wanted to talk about this tonight, so many of you are like right on that, like, I don't know, what would you call it? Like right on the edge, like right on the edge of just like making that huge jump. Not just with income, but with just in general. So I really think that that's patience is definitely needed from spouses as well. Anything else that I didn't think of? We brainstormed these last night, but is there anything else you can think of?
I think from like a spouse's point is just we had disagreements when you were on your phone a few times, and it just came to the realization that like the reason you guys are on your phones at like 8 or 9 or 10 o'clock at night is because that's when other people are on their phone at 8 and 9 and 10 o'clock at night.
Right.
And so like there were times when I was like, what's going on? And then it's like, well, I'm talking to people, and I'm like, okay. And then eventually it became you see the fruits of all that labor eventually come in.
Well, I mean, let's just be real. Like he didn't really understand any of it until my income started to grow. But then once my income started to grow, then it was like he became a little bit more patient. But then he was also more into, I was looping him into the people behind that, that late night work, right? Because I did build my business originally working a full-time job. So I was at my full-time job during the day. Then I would tune into calls and do stuff on my phone and stuff in the evenings. And so just being able to communicate to him, you know, the challengers that were having progress and seeing results, and the coaches that I was bringing on board my team, and just kind of like communication is so key. And I think even now, like one of the biggest, and this, I don't want to get off on a tangent, but one of the biggest things I think that I could advise would be, when I was working my full-time job, I would have a rule that like Friday nights were like my night to work. For whatever reason, probably because I hated my job, I would come home and I would just be like, I've got to get my email campaign sent out. I've got to get this and that done. I had like a whole thing in my head of what I needed to do. And so it became this thing where it was like, okay, if you'll let me work, right? If I can go work in my office on Friday nights for like 3 hours or whatever, then Saturday night we'll go out and do something, right? Like we'll go out, we'll go to the movie. I'll like leave my phone in my purse, or we'll plan a trip. Like there's got to be some give and take, right? Like, and so I think that's what I see most often become an issue is when there is no give and take, when it's just constantly you're wanting to be on your phone. There's no communication. The other person doesn't understand why you're always on your phone. There maybe isn't enough quality time spent one-on-one. Does that make sense? So I don't want to turn this into like a spouse session, but since he's here, I just thought I would mention, income got his attention first. Then he became more patient. And then it moved into him understanding sort of that this was something I was passionate about and that I was succeeding with over time, like 5 years of time. So for what it's worth. Okay. So I don't think I have anything. Oh yeah. So I missed this last week. I forgot about this slide, but these are some recommended readings for you guys if you've not read these books. He's reading Build to Last right now, which was written by Keith Callahan, and he's actually a Beachbody coach. And the book is very, very good. So I would definitely recommend reading that. I think, Laura, you said he spoke at an event you guys hosted in Connecticut, which is cool. The 4-Hour Work Week is a super thick one. It's kind of dense, but it's got a lot of really great tips. GoPro, Eric Worre, that's a quick overnight read. And then Rock Your Network Marketing Business is also super small, but they will help you understand the business. And I think that's where a lot of us are dropping. I don't want to say we're dropping the ball. It's just that we haven't gotten there yet, right? Like in your business, individual business, you haven't gotten your mind there yet. So I've said this 100 times and I'll end on this note. I think that the number one flaw of Beachbody coaches building an income-based business is the nature of the person. The nature of a Beachbody coach is somebody who wants to help people, who has a servant's heart, who has seen physical transformation themselves from the products that we have, and therefore craves to be the coach that brings that out in other people, right? And that is so much a part of it. Like that is so much. I have a bulletin board sitting right here in my office. It's nothing but thank you notes and letters from people that I've helped in their weight loss journey, right? It's a huge driver for me. But when I made the shift that my impact could be multiplied if I just brought in a handful of people that also had that excitement and passion, that's when the income followed. Okay, so that's sort of my summarizing statement here. But that's, I think, an important piece. So does anybody have any questions or anything that we missed? Hopefully this was helpful in some way. Don't just give me those stares. Okay, that's much better, Laura. Thank you. Somebody's got to ask something or say something. So do you guys have some ideas on how you want to go about sharing more of the business on your social? Did I just shock you all? Or are you like, I'm just quitting, this is hard? So give me some feedback, people. Are you guys still sleep deprived from Saturday? Some of you? Uh-oh, you're a robot. Okay, doesn't work.
Is there like a chat?
You can type it in the chat if you want. Yeah, there's a chat. Nicole, I can't hear you. I think you're talking. Might be your headphones.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, just can't use my headphones.
Yep.
So I watched the training today. I think it was in the Champions page, and she had like this acronym for coach. It's coach, and she said to talk. I'm gonna start doing this.
Mm-hmm.
She said to talk about the community. O was for overcoming, like things that we've overcome or objections that we get.
Mm-hmm.
A was for accountability. C was for the changes that this business has brought for us, like personally, business-wise, any of that, or challenges.
Mm-hmm.
And the H was for helping others.
That's awesome. I love that.
And she just made it a point to talk about how we should always be posting with purpose, which we should be. And I just thought the acronym helped a lot, giving ideas
Mm-hmm.
of what to post about when it comes to presenting the coaching opportunity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I have it on my agenda to the next webinar that I want to cover for the team in 2 weeks is on pain points, like trying to determine what pain points are for people looking for fulfillment with something like coaching, right? So I feel like we do a really good job of understanding the pain points of a prospective challenger because we've maybe been there, you know, we've lost the weight, or we've gotten more energy, or we've whatever when it comes to our health and fitness. So we understand the pain points of a customer, but we don't maybe quite understand the pain points of a coach. We've talked before about how, you know, like when someone messages you about your challenge group, the first step, right, is uncovering their pain point. Like, what is it that they're struggling with? So it's equally as important for coaching. It's funny because the thing I've heard most from you guys and the Leaders United group we have right now is, well, I don't know how to talk about the business when I don't make a whole bunch of money myself, right? And the truth is, like, have you guys ever seen me post about my income? I never have. But yet I've recruited anywhere from like 3 to 6 coaches pretty consistently for the past few years. So as far as attracting people, let me just be the first to tell you that if you're trying to attract people with income, you're going to get people who really only want to work for income. So what we want to attract people with servants' hearts, people just like you guys, people that have work ethic, people that maybe are busy people, right? They're working full time, whatever, like they just are missing, there's something they're missing. They're missing the tribe, or they're missing the personal development, or they're missing the, whatever it is. So it's funny because it's the same thing, you know, I always think about, like, when it comes to like challengers, you know, most people are usually willing to embrace the fitness. You know what I mean? Like, they're like, I'm ready to work out. But when you try to broach the nutrition thing, that's where you kind of get like the blank stares. You know what I mean? Like, oh, I don't know, like, or I'll just be more 80-20, or I'll just try that. You know, people are a little more resistant to it. I feel that way sharing this entire presentation with you guys. I feel like I'm trying to teach a prospective challenger how important nutrition is, right? By telling you guys how important it is to recruit coaches. Does that make sense? Like, you guys are on board with the challengers. You're like, yeah, I can do challengers. I can bring in customers. Like, you see that, but like talking to you about the importance of recruiting is like talking to a challenger about the importance of nutrition. And it is 80% of the equation, just like nutrition is. Was that a good analogy or no? Did it click? Okay. All right. Who else had Katie. Yeah, go ahead.
How do you approach telling people like, hey, here's a business opportunity, and then you have to pay to do it, especially if they like maybe don't need, or they don't perceive themselves as needing a part of it? How do you, because so if I'm trying to recruit someone for the business and not for them to lose weight, how am I like sealing, how do I make a sale to them even though they don't need a challenge pack?
Well, if they're interested in starting a business and earning money, then in my opinion, like, hearing that it's $160 to do that should not bring up objection. If they're giving you objection, then I'm worried that there's somebody that thinks there's going to be some, you know, like, I join this thing and I get paid quick fix. So I think the first thing to embrace is the fact that sometimes your challengers really are your best coach prospects. Because, like me, right? I had 30 pounds to lose, struggling with migraine. I didn't realize that I hated my job at that time. Like, I didn't know it. Like, I didn't recognize it. And I didn't have a tribe. I didn't know I was missing that either. So if people would have been like posting on their social about tribe, I'd have been like, whatever. Like, it wasn't even like I wasn't even aware of it. You know what I mean? Like, I wasn't even aware that I was missing it until I had it. But I knew I needed to lose weight. I knew I needed to get in shape. And when my coach mentioned that, like, I could save a little bit of money and there was a business opportunity attached to it, I was like, okay, like, sounds good. Right. So, sometimes I think your challengers really are the best prospects because they're being set up to become fans of the products and they're starting their journey from the get-go. So the most common objection I've received when talking to a challenger about becoming a coach is usually, well, I'm not sure I'm ready for that yet. I'd like to lose some weight first, or I'd like to get through, you know, whatever, 6 weeks of lift 4 or whatever it is. And then we can talk again or whatever. And what I have found is if we can make that connection that they are relatable now because they're starting their journey now, that's a pretty big thing. So I just look around this call and even just like Saturday night and look around at our coaches on our team and how many of you guys started as customers. right? So I think our best prospects are often our customers, whether that means from the beginning or eventually. But that doesn't mean that people don't come into the business or interested in the business from outside either. And if they are interested in that and they are sort of entrepreneurial minded, they shouldn't balk at $160 to $200 to start a business. I mean, yeah. Okay,
So
so
that's just where I feel a little confused. I just feel a little confused because it's like we're supposed to be sharing on our social about, like business, but then we need challengers to actually become our coaches. So then I'm like, well, then maybe really I should still only just be talking about challenge groups to get challengers. So that's where I just feel super confused.
Okay, so I'm going to use this as an example, like only because you guys are on my team. So hopefully it'll make sense. When Natalie was here on Tuesday, we had a conversation about recruiting and this whole topic. And she said, Jenny, I remember seeing you at a Super Saturday. And she's like, I remember the first thing I thought about you was professional, mentor, business builder. And she went through all these different phrases, right? Which was flattering to hear, but it was also cool to hear because it was like, oh, okay. So that was her first perception of me as a coach. Like she wasn't a prospect obviously or anything. She was just another coach. And then she's like, and then I've gotten to see your brand really shift. And she's like, and now I've seen you really become like, you're like a mom, but yet you're still this mentor and you're still this. And she went through all this stuff. So what I think is important there is really the way you're branding yourself on your social will help feed into your credibility recruiting challengers or recruiting coaches. Does that make sense? So when you're doing it, you're branding yourself this way as a professional business builder, mentor, CEO, work from home mom, whatever it is, however you're branding yourself, doesn't necessarily mean people are going to come running to be like, hi, I want to know more about doing that business, because it's very, very rare that happens, right? But what it does is it puts out on your storefront that this is who you are and this is what you do, so that when you go to talk to that challenger about, have you ever thought about paying this forward, and doing what I do, they see that. They're like, oh, well, this girl's successful. This girl's, she's helped lead a team of people. Like they've been seeing that through your social brand. So you've provided social proof that you can mentor them to succeed and that they can become a coach and do this too. Does that make sense? Whereas if you're only talking about running challenge groups, you're going to be possibly lacking in the recruitment department. Or if they do come in and decide to coach, that's all they want to do is just sip on the discount and potentially sell an occasional challenge pack. Am I making sense? Like, hopefully. Okay.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. So I really think that like, if we're doing ourselves a disservice by branding ourselves as challenge group leaders only. And it works to our discredit, because then when we go to have a conversation with somebody, for example, this girl that I just mentioned to you, she came in as a challenger. She did Lift 4. She didn't like Shakeology. She did love Energize. When I went to talk to her about coaching, it was like a no-brainer. Like it was like 30, 40 days after she'd enrolled as a customer. It had nothing to do with the discount she was going to receive. So I have to assume that there was some sort of trust she had in me as a mentor, right? Or that she had some idea of what the business looked like in order for her to be interested in the business. So in a way, my brand is building credibility so that those conversations are easier when it comes to recruiting my challengers.
I have a question.
Yeah.
I think I struggle with like what my brand is, because I don't have like a set market. Like it's not like I have just stay-at-home moms in my group or anything like that. I have a wide gamut of people that reach out to me. So I struggle with who it is that I'm talking to, because I don't necessarily have just like a person I talk to, which is what they always say.
Most of you guys are in an early phase of your business where you're willing to work with anybody. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like you're like, oh, this person doesn't fit my brand. No, thanks. Like I heard Melissa McAllister speak on a call last week, and she was like, I literally have an assistant that just unfollows all the men that follow me or something. And I was like, wow, that must be nice, right? Like if anybody reaches out, we're going to be like, okay, yeah, you can sign up with a challenge pack or you can join my team. So instead of looking at who's coming to you, because you kind of have like a wide mix and you're mostly accessing your warm market, instead look at, okay, who is my ideal person? Who is my ideal coach? Right? They're most likely they're coachable. They're maybe a stay-at-home mom like you so that you can relate with them easier, right? Like what are those things that, and really usually it's the same attributes of yourself that you're looking for in a coach. So that's who you're speaking to. You're not speaking to this wide array of people you currently have.
Sarah, I would listen to, it's helped me, the if you haven't listened to the Story Brand podcast.
Yeah,
I mentioned it over the weekend, I think. But he started I have his book in Audible too, I haven't listened to yet, but just the podcast that he started in January have really helped me in terms of branding or thinking about focusing the content that I'm putting out so that, yes, I'm still going to work with anybody who comes my way, but I feel like I can be a little bit more consistent. Like as I worked through, like I'm just this Group X instructor turned new mom, turned mom, I was pregnant and now I'm postpartum. And like what I discovered listening to his podcast, like through and through, is I connect to people who have insecurities with their bodies, who aren't comfortable in their skin, whether it's because they're pregnant or postpartum or just overweight or underweight or whatever it is. That's kind of where my passion for this came from. So that just helped me kind of focus in my posting and brand. Not that I'm not going to work with anybody, but I too kind of felt like I was just like, today I'm going to talk to you because you're pregnant. Today I'm going to talk to you because you're a teacher. And it was all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
So he's covering the like 7 components of the Story Brand in a row in his podcast starting January 2019.
I love that podcast. It's like my new favorite. Cool. Anything else, you guys? Laura, I did see your message in the chat. I would say, similar to what we've been talking about in the Leaders United group, that when it comes to talking more about, I wouldn't phrase it as talking about the coach opportunity, right? Like sharing about the coach opportunity as like a public post is sort of weird, but sharing about what you do as a coach is the idea. So what does working Laura look like? We know what working out Laura looks like, right? Like we know that everybody on this call is consistent with their workouts. We know everybody on this call is consistent with their shakes because you guys it's become a lifestyle to not only consume and do those things, but to share them. What you haven't made lifestyle habit is how to share what you do. Does that make sense? So screenshotting this Zoom call and putting that in your stories or putting it on your social. Showcasing coaches or customers that you've helped. That's something that I know I need to do more of, like testimonial type posts. Any pain points that you've had or other coaches that have had, right? So whether it's easy to share about sort of the tribe and the community because that is such a powerful piece, but there are other things that people have been able to do, right? Like some people, I think I read one time there's a statistic that says like most people would, what was that Kim Carver shared that time? It was like most people wish they had an extra $150 a month. Like it was something like a lot less than what I thought in my mind. And the truth is that those of us hitting Success Club, like we're earning at least 150 extra bucks a month, right? So if that's valuable to people to share those sort of small financial wins, the community piece, any sort of pain points, that's something that I want to touch on in a webinar in a couple weeks, is just how to uncover what those are with people. But
Does Katie have power?
Katie, you have lights. Yay. Okay, you guys, anything else? hopefully, if nothing else, you guys understand that a shift has to happen between a sales-based business and a team-based business. But it also should be reassuring to you to know that you're succeeding at what you're currently putting out, right? So you can succeed at the team piece too. It's scarier, I know. It's like people relying on me, but you can do it. I know you can. Okay, cool. All right, so recording will be up tomorrow. If you guys have any other questions specifically or anything about the Coach Online office, you can reach out to me or to Chris about it. But this is something to assess on the regular. If you haven't already dug up that email that we get every year about your stats, that would be something I would definitely go through here soon and see what areas you can improve. But hopefully this has been valuable. So we will talk to you guys later. Good night.